Well, hello there, friends from all around the great big round planet Earth. You've done it again. That's right. You've pushed the button marked play on
Another propitious episode of V8 Radio, Kevin.
Propitious. Now, isn't that a hair regrowth product?
Well, it could be when you hear the definition. Giving or indicating a good chance of success or favorable.
Oh,
So
right on.
You're hoping for success to regrow your hair.
Right. Well, that's good then.
Yeah. Right
I'm
on.
your host, Kevin Oeste, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mark Q-Ball Clarke, and we're having a propitious episode here today. You know, people ask me if, they give me a hard time sometimes about not having hair, and I have to tell them that I have more than enough hair.
You have plenty.
If I let this grow, it's like a public health hazard. It just goes, it's like a crazy bush. So I choose to cut this the way it is. So if this episode starts to grow hair, I don't really need that.
Right on. I do, however.
Okay, well, I'll just afford it to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So for those who know this show and expect, the expected, every episode we try to kick things off with an automotive style trivia question. And, there's no prize except for the satisfaction and enjoyment of listening all the way through and hearing if you got it right as you are an at-home player. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you prepare a trivia question for us tonight?
Absolutely. Lord knows we had enough time to prepare one. Let's see. All right, Kevin. So what we're going to give you today is 3 chances for greatness here.
Wow.
Yeah. You go.
Or 3 chances to fail miserably.
I only need 1 correct answer, or if you're feeling, propitious, you can give me all 3. And I mean, if you want, you want to make the Neowise comet change orbit and have it come back towards Earth and all that good stuff by getting all 3 right, you can do that. So that said, can you tell me the year or the make or the engine displacement of the last engine to use a Rochester Quadrajet carburetor?
Oh, great.
You got 3 shots, baby.
The year, engine, or make.
Correct.
For the last, I'm going to assume factory built.
Yes.
Rochester Quadrajetted vehicle.
Correctamundo. Not vehicle, engine.
Yeah, see, here's where things get sticky because this could be on a generator in Argentina.
Okay. All right. Let's not go down that path because
Well,
I'm not about that.
Yeah, right.
It's got to be on a production vehicle.
Okay.
Generator.
Okay. Well, I don't
what generator uses a Quadrajet?
Hey, they're out there.
All right.
Trust me. And that one has a bent air horn too because somebody over-torqued it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Quadrajets. I think the last American carbureted vehicle in general was probably an 88, 87, something like that. And, is this in the U.S.?
Yes.
Okay. So an American vehicle that last was fed by the Rochester Quadrajet. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it was a 88 Chevrolet pickup truck.
I don't care what the vehicle was. I care about the engine.
350, 5.7, or 305, 350, 5.7 liter.
5.7. Kevin says 88 Chevy, 5.7 liter.
Yeah, and it's probably not that. But, I mean, the things that require 4 barrels,
yeah,
the V8s, lasted I think the longest by Chevrolet. Cadillac had V8s, but they went to, the crappy fuel injection.
Mm-hmm.
Pontiac got out of the game. Buick got out of the game. Oldsmobile got out of the game. So Oldsmobile and Buick and Pontiac were using Chevrolet engines at that point, but, so that's why I say the odds are it was a Chevrolet.
Okay.
But Quadrajets came on basically everything at one point. You could get a Quadrajet on a Ford. Did you know that?
I think I did know that.
Yeah. You could get a Quadrajet on a Chrysler.
That I did not know.
I think that's true. A couple of them. So, yeah, that's my guess.
Okay.
I got a 99% chance that it's wrong. But
It's a nice guess. It's a good guess.
just some thought there.
Yeah, totally. I like the guess.
All right. Well, I got one for you, and I don't know how to do this. I could ask the question either way, and so it's like I'll let you pick which way.
All right.
So either I give you a vehicle, and then you tell me why it's significant, or I tell you the significance, and you tell me the vehicle.
Okay. You tell me the vehicle, and I will tell you why it is significant.
All right. And I'm sorry either way on this one.
Great. You know it's going to be a doozy when you're apologizing up front. All right.
Yeah. All right. So I'm telling you the significant. No, I'm telling you the vehicle.
The vehicle.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in July of 1961, on the cover of Hot Rod magazine, an interesting vehicle. It was a very customized 32 Ford built by a gentleman named Chili Catallo, and it was called the Silver Sapphire. But aside from being the Hot Rod cover car, why was this particular vehicle significant?
Oh, brother.
Can I give you more? Let me think.
I'm gonna need to phone a friend.
Yeah, I'll give you more because I don't want to be that guy, right?
I appreciate that.
And it's got something to do with, I got to be careful. I just don't want to just give this thing away.
Yeah, I understand.
If I would have done my homework a little bit better, I would have had a better way to ask this. So this particular vehicle called the Silver Sapphire that was on the cover of July 1961 Hot Rod magazine was also on the cover of something else that was very, very popular with the kids at the time. So it was not only a magazine cover car.
Okay.
It was on the cover of something else.
Okay.
This really sounds like a Hollywood game show, doesn't it?
It does. I need Gene Rayburn here or something. Crying out loud.
Chuck Woolery here. And,
I'll be back in 2 and 2, Kev.
that's it.
All right. What else was it on the cover of? It was, I am going to say 1961. It was.
To give you a little more of a hint,
Oh.
the Hot Rod cover was the first appearance.
Okay.
So the other significant cover came a little bit later, but it was the same image, just cropped differently.
All right. The only thing that's coming to mind is that it was on a box of Wheaties.
A box of Wheaties, known to the rest of us as human fuel, that is rarely consumed by automobiles. But our boy Chili Catallo crossed all space and dimension and landed his 32 Ford on a box of Wheaties.
Well done, Chili. Well done. Oh, God dang it. Oh, man.
Is that your final answer? Because it's a good one.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be my final answer. It's got to be.
All right. Okay.
Oh, my Lord, help us all. I'm so sorry, folks.
Help
so
you
sorry.
anyway.
You gave me a lot of help.
Wheaties. Well, that was fun. So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
We were doing these like weekly, and then people started going back to work, and everything was kind of happening again, and kind of got away from it a little bit. So got a little catching up to do. Trying to think of what happened in the past couple of weeks.
Well, I'll tell you what. We can talk about what happened today, and that is you drove home in a '62 Galaxie.
I did.
How about that?
And it's been almost a year.
Wow.
Good night, Irene. Yeah, it was the evening of our what was the annual drive-in cruise event, and Kelly and I were going to head to the event, and the transmission decided to fail, and when that happened, we put the car in storage because I don't have a whole lot of time to work on my own stuff, of course. Mm-hmm. So over the course of the year, we were able to zip it in and out of our shop every once in a while and get a few things done. And all those little projects finally culminated today, and I drove it home, and it was great.
Dig it, man.
Yeah, drove really well. It was. You're gonna experience the same thing when your car's back on the road.
Oh
because
my gosh!
When enough time goes by, it's a little unfamiliar, and a lot of the things come kind of flooding back right away. But a lot of this stuff, annoyances or nuances are new. Things that you might have been accepting of before. You're like, what's with this? So I did identify a few more things that I wanna iron out in the car. But the short, I mean, we changed it. We fixed a bunch of stuff. I had a window regulator on the passenger side that was actuated by a vice grip clamp. Finalized the installation of my tilt steering column with a clamp and a floor block off plate, and most of this work was done by Jonathan in our shop, which was pretty cool.
Sure.
Able to let him go to town, so he fixed all that stuff. All right, well, at least we've got that figured out now, so we can kind of start our show eventually. So, what else has been happening in your world over there?
Dude, from an automotive standpoint, absolutely nothing. Every show I've been trying to go to has been canceling.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it is.
But you bought a car.
Oh, yeah. I did buy a car.
So that's something.
Yeah, that's true. So, for my wife, my older daughter is 16 now. She has a driver's license, and she inherited my wife's current daily driver, the trusty old Sonic, and we got my wife a used but not abused Hyundai Santa Fe.
Right on.
Yeah, first foreign car we've ever bought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't buy it new though.
That's true. I did not buy it new. So it's a 2016, 45,000 miles. It looks spectacular, and it looks brand new.
Yeah.
So,
and you've had that now for a couple of weeks, huh?
yeah, about 2 weeks.
How's it going?
It's great. We drove over to my in-laws, who live about 80 miles away, today, and it was fabulous. So it feels like I'm all grown up now.
Oh no, yeah, that ain't
right. I know.
Well, it's a rare time in my life. It happens every once in a while, but the planets are aligned, and all of my old cars are now running and driving.
Hot diggity dog.
Yeah, how about that?
That's awesome. That's even better news.
It is good news. So I guess the old reliable is Kelly's 54 Chevy truck, and that thing, we don't really do much with it outside of use it here and there to haul wood, or it gets used in the wintertime more than the summertime.
Sure.
And the only problem we ever had with that one is the ignition switch. It has a push button start on the floor.
Right, yeah.
Right. And to turn this thing off, people tend to leave the ignition on for whatever reason, and it ends up killing the battery, because it sits for a while. So that, really sometimes you got to just jump start it and it's fine.
Okay.
But that's the only thing that ever goes wrong with that one. As we talked about in recent episodes, my Buick's all tuned up and that thing's doing really well.
Nice.
But a year ago, almost to the day, I had an issue with the '62 Galaxie convertible with the transmission failing to go into overdrive, and giving me some problems. And, like the plumber with the leaky pipes, that car got put into storage.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I'll deal with that later. And later finally rolled around. So we recently brought it to the shop. Our guys, a couple different of our team members worked on it, pulled the transmission out and had it rebuilt. And put that back in, made a few might as well syndrome type updates.
Perfect.
Put a new aluminum radiator in it and a pair of Duraley electric fans on it.
Right on.
My radiator that was in it was an aluminum AFCO radiator, and it had been a solid 20 years old, basically.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and it just started to show signs of leaking.
Oh.
So it was time.
Yeah.
And it worked fine, so we replaced it with something, actually a Holley Frostbite radiator, another aluminum, very basic, automatic transmission, 3-core radiator that was actually designed for a Mopar, I think, for 70 Roadrunner.
Oh, wow.
Which just happened to dimension out to being similar to my Galaxie.
Dynamite.
So we threw that in there, painted it black this time instead of leaving it aluminum, and got the fans in. The fans, it's a pair of 12-inch fans that move 4,000 CFM of air.
Gee whiz. Well, if you ever put a blower on that, you'll
Oh, my
still have
gosh.
enough air to cool it down.
I might as well just duct those fans into the intake, and that is a blower. for
Yeah,
crying out
pretty
loud.
much.
Because it's far too much air capacity that I need, for certain. And in fact, this thing, when the fans come on, you can be standing behind the car and feel the air moving underneath it.
Really? Holy
Yeah.
cow.
I mean, it's crazy.
Do they have multi-speeds, or is it just one speed?
This is a single speed. It's got a kind of a dummy fan switch. So and that's kind of a funny story too, because the switch was advertised as turning on at 195 and turning off at 175. And this car has always run cool. And I wanted to actually put more heat into it for better efficiency and whatnot. So it used to run at like 170, 175, and you'd sit in traffic and a hot day, and it would creep up there. And the previous fan was supposed to turn on at 185. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bump that turn on temperature a little bit. So I wanted to go to 195. Well, I put the fan switch in, and I fire this thing up, and I'm watching the temp gauge, and I'm watching my laser pyrometer, and I'm seeing it climb and climb, and here we are at 180, 185, here we are at 190, here we are at 195.
Come
and
on,
there's
come
no
on,
fans.
fan.
Yeah, right. And that's the worst thing in the world, because electric fans, there's multiple things that could be happening. Is it a bad fuse? Did something come loose?
Right.
On the electrical side, is the switch bad? So I shut it down and then spent some time checking everything, and everything seemed to be okay. So I just said, well, screw it. Fire it up again and put some heat in it. Well, it's just idling in my garage one night, and it takes forever to get up to temperature.
Really?
Well, it's just
boy.
idling.
Yeah.
But finally, at 209, the fans came on.
You wanted heat. You got heat.
I got a little more heat for sure, and it was then that I read the online reviews of this particular fan switch that everybody says it says 195, but mine turns on at 210. So
Brilliant.
yeah. So I always read that stuff last, But 210's fine, and they turn on, and the only thing I'm noticing now is that it's supposed to be a 20-degree hysteresis, so it's supposed to be like, technically it'd be 210, meaning it would turn off at 190, but they don't seem to turn off willingly. And I think the temp gauge, it's just a cold hot. It doesn't have numbers on it, and it seems to go. They pull the heat right out of the fan, out of the radiator for sure. The gauge swings to the left, but they don't turn off. So I don't know if I'm just like tickling that 190 number, like the thermostat. I think it's a 185 stat. So I mean, it just might be, right there, and the fan switch is right in the thermostat housing. So I'm not sure that they are going to turn off. But I did notice. I mean, I was expecting the car to sit there idling, and then they would just shut off.
Right.
But they stayed on. But driving down the road, they eventually do turn off. So.
Oh, good.
I'm pretty sure I could unplug those fans and just drive down the road and not have a temperature problem at all. So,
yeah, you should keep that pyrometer with you the next time you're driving and they do turn off. pull over and just take a measurement to see where it is, just so you know.
Yeah. I'm figuring to do something, and that car does have that Ford EFI system, so I could data log with the laptop and see what the temperatures are too. I just got to find the cable.
Nice.
So, but the thermal control system is back in action, and then we made a bunch of little repairs. I needed a wheel bearing in the front, and I needed an axle bearing in the back, and that stuff got fixed. And my oil pan had a leak because of the drain plug got over tightened once. So I've had another oil pan sitting on the shelf for 20 years. So finally got that installed, and some headlight adjusters and just a whole bunch of little stuff. The passenger door finally now has a window crank.
Hallelujah.
Since the first time we've owned that car in 1993.
Get out of here. Really? Wow.
It's had a little vice grip on there for 27 years, so so that's fixed. It got aligned, it got wheels balanced and rotated and all that jazz. So I took it for a cruise, and it's wonderful. It drives fantastic.
Dude, that makes me really happy. I know that you've been wanting that on the road for a long time, and you've been wanting to get all those little nagging things fixed that we talked about before. And I don't consider hardly any of that as might as well syndrome. A lot of that sounds mission critical to me. So
sure,
yeah, it all needs to be dialed in right. So you have to do it.
Absolutely. And I noticed right away that the transmission was getting soft. This new one shifts much firmer, and even with the same calibration in it as the old one had. So I retuned the shift points and the firmness, the line pressures, because that's all electronic on that car too, and it's easy to do. So it shifts wonderfully. Just a nice firm, quick. 1, 2, 2,
firm
3.
Without being harsh, huh?
Nope, exactly. It's right where you want it. And the steering. There was a bigger project a while ago when I put a Borgeson integral power steering box in the car, because those old Fords had that hydraulic ram assist steering,
right,
like the Corvettes, and it's a monkey mess. So put this Borgeson steering box in it, and didn't quite finish the job. I had to secure. I did a tilt column in it as well, but the column needed to be secured to the firewall with a custom clamp and a little panel. And I just didn't get around to finishing that. So Jonathan in our shop made that panel and that clamp and got that secured nice. So that the column's real solid. And one of the complaints was actually that the steering was too tight, like it wouldn't return center easily.
Okay.
You'd let go of the wheel and it would just kind of stay turning almost. And I looked at it and I couldn't figure it out. And Trevor found out that I had over tightened the idler arm. The idler arm's got a rubber bushing in it. So he just loosened the torque on that, and then the idler arm was free, and then everything freed up nice. And
perfect.
So so a lot of little stupid things got dialed in. I've got the hood hinges rebuilt, which was just, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but you used to have to lift the hood up as high as you could, and then let it kind of slowly come down to where you'd think it might want to hang.
Oh, wow.
And you'd open the hood and it would make this spring noise like an old flip-up garage door.
Oh, yeah. That's scary.
Twang. Yeah.
Oh, brother.
And now the hood lives perfectly straight up and down. It stays right where you put it. And yeah, there's an outfit called SMS I think it's SMS on the East Coast that takes your hinges and they grind them all out and they re-weld them and put new pins in and
dynamite.
And they do great work. So that's really cool. So
kind of makes you feel like you have a new car again, doesn't it?
Well, especially when you don't drive the thing for a year and then you change all that stuff and now you're back behind the wheel and it's like, oh man. And it I have to remember back of all the stuff that really annoyed me,
Oh, right.
Because before I did that steering conversion, it was all over the road, and before it had that tilt column, it was uncomfortable, and the transmission was a slush box and everything else. So even little stuff like a pinion seal on the rear end has been a tiny little nuisance leak forever. So the guys fixed that in the shop, and now there's no little spot on the floor when you back it out.
Right on.
lots and lots of little stuff, which means you end up getting more critical of everything else.
You're
Which is
never
good.
happy. Never
Well,
happy.
it's not that you're never happy, but I noticed like the seat position. So when we bought this car, it's a factory Ford Galaxie 500 XL, which means buckets and console from the factory.
Sure.
And the original seats had been reupholstered. We think it was a Tijuana upholstery job. It was
Really?
It wasn't. It was pretty nice, yeah, but it just had finally worn out. And they were pretty comfortable, and they were, they're early '60s Ford's bucket seats, so they're not very supportive.
Right.
But we had them restuffed, a while ago now, and the upholstery shop that did it, it's before we had that capability in house, and they're overstuffed. So you sit high in the seat, and
I see.
you feel closer to the steering wheel, and no doubt that I put a Grant stainless steel spoke wood steering wheel on the car, and it's got a deeper dish than I think I accounted for when we measured the column. So it is a little bit closer to you. So everything feels a little more cramped.
Okay.
So that's kind of next on the list. Is it's either we're going to move the seat back, or maybe just restuff them, or put something else in there that's a slightly more supportive bucket seat,
I see.
and get that straightened out. And then, like you said, there's always a list of stuff to do. I got some different wiring to do, and the car has a 2-speed wiper motor, but a single-speed wiper switch.
Oh, boy.
So that needs a change. I finally found an NOS 2-speed wiper switch.
Okay, cool.
And that's got to get put in. And
Now, is it supposed to have a 2-speed, or did it come with a single speed from the factory?
the car had a 2-speed, but a million years ago I changed the whole dash for a 63 Mercury dash.
Right.
And the switch came along for the ride.
Okay.
Because I had incorrectly assumed that the Mercury also had a 2-speed, but it had a single. So
That Mercury dash belongs in that car.
Yeah,
It would. I remember looking at it last time when you pointed it out, and it is just spot on with the styling of the rest of the car. The outside and everything is perfect for that dash.
it really feels like it was switched at birth. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, the little zebra striped cast plated trim and the circular gauges match the other circles on the car and the zebra stripe trim, and I don't know why it was the way it was, but that is becoming kind of a hot thing now. I've seen 3 or 4 of those cars now where people are starting to do
No
that.
kidding. Right on.
Yeah, George Poteet's got one that Bobby Alloway built. I think a couple other people in Facebook groups and stuff have done that.
Cool.
So yeah, it's getting there. I need to put a long time ago I put a reproduction side mirror on a car because the car did not come with side mirrors from the factory.
Really?
Yeah, they were an option, and it didn't have side mirrors and it didn't have reverse lights.
Oh my gosh.
I know, in '62. That feels like something from the '40s.
That does, right?
Yeah, so I had bought a reproduction correct side mirror for the car, and it's got a ball stud, that the
Yeah.
mirror rides on, and the clamp inside there wore out. And all of a sudden the mirror's flopping around.
Flopping. Gosh darn it.
So I got to get another one. I just found one of those on eBay, so I got that coming. And,
Cool.
I used to have a black convertible top boot for it, and I don't know what the heck happened to it. So I got to get another one of those. But these are, like I said, we're down to little stuff.
Right.
So
Well, that's awesome, man. That's really great. I'm glad that you got that going, and I know what that car means to you and how long you guys have had it, and it was your father's before you, and I know it's really important that it stay functional and you're able to use it.
Yeah, and it felt like something was missing. I didn't really realize it until I drove it again. I was like, hey, I remember this car,
Yeah.
And no doubt you're going to experience the same thing when the GTO's back.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. I really miss driving that car a lot.
Yeah, and you notice all these little things that you forget about when you drive it, reconnections, and I'll say the number one annoyance that I still got to take care of, and we had talked about this before. It has the Ford EFI system on it, and I have a sniper system with a 4-barrel intake manifold, and I'm gonna make that conversion at some point.
Cool.
Probably not right away because I'm enjoying driving it.
Yeah.
But there's a few more steps there. So, for example, it's an electronic transmission that needs a throttle position sensor, and the Holley EFI system has a built-in throttle position sensor, but you can't split the signal to go to the transmission controller as well.
Oh, really?
So you have to rig up an external TPS, and there's a fast bracket that allows you to do that, and
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. So that's all going to happen. But the other annoyance that I would like to take care of is the valve train sounds like a sewing machine.
Is that right?
It's ticky, yeah, and it always was. It's roller lifters, roller fulcrum rockers, roller tip rockers, and they're adjustable and they're adjusted properly. But there's just a little bit of bearing
something.
in there, and I've read a lot about these, and a lot of people say that's just the way they are. These they make noise, so you might experience that on the GTO.
Yeah.
A little bit, and now that the car is getting quieter, and that's becoming a little more obvious, and I'm kind of over it. So
Are they hydraulic lifters?
Yep,
Oh,
hydraulic
really? Wow.
lifters, and they pump up just fine, and everything does what it's supposed to do. But I just think that there's all these little machines in there, these little roller systems that accumulate either
make sound.
a thou here and there of tolerance as they go through their operation, and they make noise. So I used to have an 86 Mustang GT 5.0, and this one's a 351, but it's the same. It's a Windsor. It's similar. And that engine made no noise whatsoever. I mean, the valve train was dead silent.
Wow.
But it wasn't roller.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a roller cam, but
Right.
it wasn't like a roller tip or a roller fulcrum
rocker.
It was a stamp steel ball mount
I see.
rocker. Non-adjustable. Ford figured it out and just built a million of them. So there is a performance reduction by going back to those, but at this point I'm almost thinking if I can just quiet this thing down, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a race car.
No, it's
So
not.
it's a fun car.
It's a
And
cruiser.
it should be enjoyable. Exactly. So make it enjoyable.
Shouldn't be nagging at me. So.
Exactly. Oh man! But speaking of George Poteet, you got to see some cool stuff from that guy recently.
Well, I did, and I'm gonna kind of bend the space-time continuum here because last weekend I went out to Bonneville to the Salt Flats and recorded a bunch of stuff, and a lot of things happened. But what I would like to do is actually hold that for our next episode.
Oh, okay. We can
So
do that.
this just became a teaser because I recorded some cool interviews, and it's going to take a little bit to put it all together. And
Okay.
it's a cool story, so I want to make that one nice. And
Okay.
I think I've got some time this coming week. I'll be doing some traveling, and I should be able to cut those clips down. And
Okay.
So yes, stay tuned.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah. But it was interesting today. I took the Galaxie, and it's funny. My Riviera is looking at me with a stink eye right now because that was my Saturday.
Come on, Daddy.
My Saturday sandwich cruiser, and now the cute redhead is going out instead. So
Nice.
yeah, but I took the Galaxie for a little cruise to get a sandwich, and I was driving along, and it was a beautiful day. So there was like some Corvette club out cruising. There was probably 12 or 15, late model Corvettes that were going by on the other side, and I think one of them might have waved, But what did I see? The Lou's Chains car driving on the other side.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah. I saw Lou driving the Camaro, which was really cool, and that's a car that we built. Oh man,
It's been a number of years ago.
6-7 years ago now.
Yeah.
Great car, full pro touring. Every box checked. LSA, T56 Magnum, Detroit Speed, Forge Line. Big brake, everything you could do. And he lives fairly local to us, and I'd never see him on the road because he's a busy guy and whatever. But it was such a nice day. He was out cruising around, so it was, it reminded me of that old. There was an old magazine story where it was like a Camaro coming at you and like a 34 Ford going away from you on a 2-lane, and both guys are thumbs up. You know, there's two different types of cars, and that's what happened today. So Lou gave me a big thumbs up, and I gave him a big thumbs up. You know, we
Nice.
drove by and waved. Yeah, it was neat, and I shot him a text afterwards, and I said, "Hey, man, you're looking good in the car." And he's like, "Yeah, I thought that was you. Looks great." You know, it was cool. So
Nice. Now his son did some design work on that car, right?
his son did basically all the design work on it. Yeah, his son is a brilliant designer. Worked for GM for a while, designing the accessory program on, I think, on the Chevy Cruze,
Is that right?
and maybe a Traverse at the time, or an Equinox, like. You know, for like ski racks and accessory racks
Oh,
and
right
stuff
on.
that were
Yeah, yeah,
offered
yeah.
from the factory. He did all that stuff, and left there and has been down at Rentec in Florida doing high-end Mercedes-Benz and
Oh, yeah.
European parts. And so he designed the look of that car with the ZL1 carbon fiber hood insert and the custom 3D printed grille and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Whew.
The one thing that I brought to the table on the design of that car was the stripe over the roof. So it's Mars Red is the color. It's actually a VW color.
Oh wow.
It's right between like cranberry red and hugger orange. It just kind of splits the difference between
gotcha.
those. And Dan, the designer, called for a black stripe that went up the hood and over the roof and onto the deck lid like a modern ZL1. And the only thing that I ended up changing was the width of the stripe on the roof, because he had a consistent width stripe over the top of the car.
Okay.
But the ancient Greeks figured out that because of perspective, you want to make that a little bit narrower
On the
going
roof.
over the roof so that things look proportional. Otherwise, because of the way the A-pillars angle in, you know, and the roof
Okay.
is not as wide as the car, if you kept it the same width all the way over the roof, the stripe looked like it got wider on the roof.
I see.
It was just an optical illusion, because the
right.
Greeks built a lot of Camaros, you know, and they knew how
Well,
to
you
stripe
know,
these cars.
they had a lot of stripes in their day.
Yes, yes. But and I remember talking to the owner, to Lou, about it. We were in the paint booth laying out the stripe design, and I said, I think we need to pinch that in a little bit. And he's like, no, the design calls for this consistent thing. And we kind of went around in circles a little bit, but when it was all painted up, I think everybody agreed that this had the right look. And you could see it, you know, that car is instantly recognizable. If you're miles away, I'm
Oh.
like, boom, there it is.
All
you know,
day.
so,
All day. Absolutely.
yeah, it was really cool.
Man, that's something else, man. That was cool that you got to see him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, really dig that car. And, you know, it's funny thinking about, you know, here's a local guy, again, that I don't get to see very often, but I think right now we've got customers and cars from 7 countries in the shop right now.
Get out of town. Holy cow.
Well, that is out of
Get
town.
out of the country.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've been, and it's great. It's, you know, it's wonderful. But just when you look around and we talk about some of the names of the customers when we're referring to their cars, and a lot of these are not common names right now. You know, it's not Dave, Frank, and Joe. It's, you know, people with other names. So between the USA, Canada, Belgium, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Germany, and we're consulting with a guy in Australia right now that might come over, but you know, we're talking to him. It's bad and bad and worldwide, you know.
Yeah, man.
And we've been doing international stuff for a long time, but not this many at the same time. So it's a tribute to the team, and also to people, I think, during the virus, getting bored and watching videos online, and
Nice.
people, you know, cool cars are universal, so it doesn't matter where they are. They like to see this stuff. So
True. Absolutely. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Always, virus notwithstanding, it's always fun to look at cool cars.
that's right.
Yeah, good deal.
So there's another. So let's see. You're still waiting on your cylinder heads. You're real close on those.
Correct.
And then that thing will hopefully go back together. You know, it was fun. I will say a little bit of a sneak peek into the Bonneville story. you touch down in Salt Lake City and then rent a car and head west out to Wendover, Utah. And I ended up listening to one of our podcasts, believe it or not.
Really?
While I was
You're
driving.
the guy.
Out there. Well, two of them. Yeah. I listened to that, ideal drive thing we did. What's your best drive experience? And that was really good. I think I was kind of having one at the same time on Highway 80 going through the desert. So that was really cool. And then I re-listened to the Jeff Smith interview from as the former magazine editor.
All right.
And he mentioned, when he got his job at Hot Rod, he was talking to the team about how cool it's going to be able to go to Bonneville. And I'm like, here I am. I'm like, back to Bonneville. How cool that is. Yeah. And it was fun to kind of re-listen to those stories. Well, at the same time, I got a text from our buddy Yardley.
Aha.
And Yardley bought another car. He lives in Pennsylvania, and he flew out to South Dakota or Colorado or something.
Right.
And bought a 97 or 98 Riv.
I believe it's, I think it's a 90, might be a 99.
It could be a 99, yeah. Towards the end of the line for that last generation Riviera. He's had a few of those. He always liked them.
Mm-hmm.
And he flew in, and he was going to beeline driving this thing back all the way to home. And he texted me saying, I'm going to make this drive go smoother because I'm going to listen to all your podcasts in a row.
That's awesome.
And I told him, I said, dude, I thought you were trying to enjoy this drive.
Yeah, he actually messaged me. He was coming through Chicago and wanted to try to get together. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it happen, but that was really cool that he thought enough of me to want to try to hang out a little bit.
Well, yeah, who wouldn't?
Well,
You're,
I think
big
I'm
industry
a cool guy.
I'm here. Right on.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah, so that was nice of him.
Yeah, and we appreciate him being a big supporter and everybody else who listens to this project with regularity. That's cool. I think he liked the car. He said that it wasn't 100% represented as what he expected, but he'll fix those things. I forgot what he said wasn't quite right with it. But
it wasn't really much, but he said it was a smoker's car, and he posted some pictures of after he shampooed the carpets, and the water was like black.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was gross. So, but yeah, I think he ended up with a real nice runner. He said to me, he's like, if I wanted to, when I drive a car, I don't want to feel the road. I don't know why cars today have to be so firm and you feel every pebble and every expansion joint. I just want to glide over it. I want to feel like I'm on a couch. I'm like, well, that's the right car to do it in.
Yeah, those are pretty nice cars. I mean, I remember when they came out, 95, I think, was that body style. And there was a couple of interesting things. Buick had done some, it's always funny to me. The engineering department does everything that they're going to do. And then the marketing guys kind of sift through the stuff and go, well, maybe we could talk about that. That sounds cool,
Make up a name for that.
Right, yeah. And one of the things that they advertised was that the structure, it's obviously a unit body design, but the structure had a resonant frequency of like 34 hertz.
Okay.
So what that means is you could hang the structure, and if you hit it with a mallet, it vibrates at a frequency that we can hear. So it's like a drum. It's like a bass drum, which tells you how rigid the body shell, the shell is, the chassis and the structure.
Sure.
Because if it's loose, it won't vibrate at all. It'll just go thud.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right? So
I'm with you.
The whole body structure is very rigid, and then they designed an isolation system for the suspension so it doesn't transfer in, but it doesn't twist, and it handles well. And that was like the first car they ever advertised the resonant, frequency of the chassis, which I thought was kind of cool.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think those cars were like $35,000 when they were new.
Shnikes.
Yeah, in the mid-'90s.
Yeah.
And I remembered I went to my local Buick dealer, and I really wanted to drive one, and I was just out of college, and this guy's like, there's no way.
I'm sorry, young man. Absolutely not.
Right. And so I'm like, but I got a job interview coming up, and, I got no expenses, and, I live with my folks, and I'm really thinking about buying one of these. He's like, okay, well, you bring some paycheck stubs, and we'll talk.
Yeah.
It's like, rats.
And a heck of a lot of money down.
That's it. So I never got the chance to drive one of those things.
Oh, brother.
Even though I really liked the car, and I picked up the brochure that day from the dealer, and there was another thing. The design was kind of interesting. It didn't look like all the jelly beans in the mid-'90s. Maybe a stretched out jelly bean a little bit. But one of the pictures had this profile view of the car, and it said, "The design is a metaphor for flight."
Ooh.
Which I thought was kind of a stretch.
Those marketing boys are really working overtime.
They sure did, man. They did everything they could on that. And a couple of years ago, Trevor comes home with like a 96 or 97 Riv. So he's got one of those cars.
Oh, God dang it, Trevor.
Yeah, and he wanted a commuter that again, kind of like Yardley, wasn't something that was going to beat him up. And he bought this thing really cheap because it had a bad front wheel bearing, and I think some woman got really scared off by a mechanic who said it was going to be a majorly expensive fix.
Oh, gee whiz.
And Trevor had the bearing changed out in like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
and has been driving it ever since. And he threw me the keys one day, and I finally got a chance to drive that thing.
Right on.
And his has like, I don't know, 150,000 miles on it or something. And it's still a really nice car. A lot of advanced features that you wouldn't think, a mid-'90s car would have.
Right.
But very, very comfortable. And a 3.8 Series 2, I guess, 3800 Series 2, 6-cylinder. Trevor's is not supercharged, but I think Yardley's is. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yardley will not own a car that does not have a supercharger on it. He made no bones about that to me.
Yeah, no, they're cool. So.
Yeah, I had the Pontiac version of that. I had the '99 Grand Prix GTP a long time ago, and I had front wheel bearing issues, and I had them changed out rather quickly as well. So it's a pretty easy job.
Yeah,
But,
it's not terrible, but
yeah.
those things. I can just hear the mechanic now. Well, these front-wheel drive cars.
Oh, we got to do everything on it. Brup, 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 brup.
Yep, we got to take it all apart and machine it and press it, and oh my gosh.
You're just going to want to give this car to us.
Right. I'll just buy this car for $1,200. Like Trevor.
Trevor!
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it's been interesting because a couple of our overseas customers have tasked us, more specifically myself, to find cars for them. And the plan is that, I locate whatever it is they want, and then we build it at the shop and then ship it home to wherever they are. And so you gotta be good with trying to figure out what this thing actually is and ask the right questions, especially if you're, 4 or 5 states away. So we got, I don't want to say got lucky. I mean, there is definitely some luck, but there was some perseverance and some strategy. But we ended up obtaining 3 different cars for customers recently. One from Arizona, another one from Louisiana, I believe, and then one that was local. And the local car was a 72 Corvette C3 convertible, 350 4-speed car that's going to get an LS3 swap and a bunch of cool stuff. And that one was pretty easy because I could go look at it in person. And
yeah, that's nice.
and it's funny when a guy's trying to sell you a car and he's telling you how great the engine is, and you're like, I don't care about the engine.
Yeah. Doesn't make a bit of difference to me, pal.
No. As soon as that thing makes it to the shop, that's going to be on the floor.
Yeah.
But one of the cars was kind of strange. It was 76 El Camino, right?
Yeah.
Which is not a very highly sought after car. But this customer, again, had one, I don't know, new in the 70s and really, really liked it and wants to get another one. And try finding one of those in Europe, It's just,
right.
It ain't going to happen. So I started to look around, and it's interesting. They call those, the colonnade style. They're the mid-'70s malaise period of overgrown kind of larger A bodies. Technically, I guess it was kind of before the G body. And I guess the people that want those really want them because they're not cheap,
Really?
And many of them disappeared. I mean, I remember being a kid and those things were everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. The Malibu Classics and the El Caminos and all that stuff. And now you can't find them. And I don't know if it was just because of scrapping or, I don't think they rusted away real bad, but we ended up finding one in Arizona, and it turned out to be a really nice car. So I was happy, and I think we bought it pretty well for the guy. And that one's going to get an engine swap of some sort. We're still trying to figure it out what it's going to be. Probably an LS and an automatic, some tubular control arms and better brakes.
Nice.
To be reliable and to be able to handle, being driven spiritedly in a different part of the world. But the interesting thing about this whole experience is that when we start talking about engine swaps and especially late model stuff, our shop is fortunate that we are recognized installers for GM and Ford products and Mopar too, to where, especially with the GM stuff, if you buy a crate engine, like a brand new crate LS3, they come with a 2-year warranty, but because we're installing it, the warranty doesn't start until the customer gets the car.
Right.
And that's a big thing, because it could be a couple of months or 6 months or whatever. Well, I was telling this customer in Europe, and he said, "You know what? I don't care." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, there is no more GM in Europe." And I went, "What?"
Oh, wow.
Right. It just didn't make any sense to me. And what we've learned is that he's right. There's no more Chevrolet franchises. You can special order Corvettes, but that's really about the only thing that they're selling right now in GM. So he's like, nobody's going to honor a warranty over here anyway. It doesn't even matter to me. Let's just get a good engine. Yeah.
That blows my mind.
I know. It doesn't make sense, but
kind of makes me sad a little bit.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So, and don't quote me. I'm not the world's authority on the global sales strategies of General Motors, but he brought that up, and he's pretty sharp. And Trevor's like, "Yeah, that's how it is. They don't really sell those things over there anymore." So I thought that was pretty wild.
Yeah, that just seems crazy to leave an entire market like that.
Yeah, I know. But who knows? I know Ford's huge in Europe, and and the current Mustang was actually designed more for European roads than American, for crying out loud.
Is that right?
Yeah, proportionally, yeah. They had to. They wanted that car to be attractive to European drivers, with its size and its appearance and its maneuverability and everything for smaller roads and that whole deal. Of course, they designed it for Americans as well, but I mean, this was the first time they really paid a lot of focus on making that car appeal everywhere around the world. So
wow,
yeah,
that would have been a hell of a trivia question somewhere in there.
Don't worry, we'll both forget it, and it'll come up again.
Next week, folks.
Yes, because that episode that I listened to was your Tucker your DeLorean recycled question episode.
Oh, god dang it! Yeah. That hurt. That hurt.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, good times.
Well, speaking of trivia questions.
Yes,
maybe we should relieve these because there was a little bit of some. There was definitely some laughter on the asking of these questions. People are probably waiting, so I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, all right, Kevin. So I asked you what year. I gave you the option to answer one of the three questions in here, either the year, make, and displacement of the last engine to be outfitted with a Rochester Quadrajet from the factory.
Right, I remember now, yeah.
And you said an 88 Chevrolet 5.7 liter.
And it's wrong. I know it's wrong, but go ahead.
Every bit of that is wrong.
I knew it. Because, there's a trick in there. What was it?
Turns out it was on a 1990 Oldsmobile 307. Which went into the Cadillac Brougham and full-size station wagons made by Chevrolet, Pontiac, and Oldsmobile and Buick.
Man, not even close. And I know people had those things.
I love that question.
That was a good one. That was a great question. Yeah, because That was trivial, but very good.
Very trivial.
No, that was a really good question.
When I was researching, and I'm like, I didn't know Oldsmobile had a 307 in 1990. That's crazy.
Yeah, you would think that 307 would have been done by 86 or 7.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Chevy 307. It was an Oldsmobile.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, you got me.
Thank you. Oh, and you're about to get me, too.
Well, my question was convoluted. So we were talking about a vehicle called the Silver Sapphire, a 32 Ford, that was featured on the July 61 cover of Hot Rod magazine and was also featured on another significant cover. And the question is, what was it? And you... pointed out that our buddy Chili Cataldo landed his 32 Ford on the cover of a box of Wheaties cereal.
Oh, it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, which was outstanding. It was a great answer. Unfortunately, it's not correct. Where this car landed was on the cover of the 1963 Beach Boys record, Little Deuce Coupe.
Oh, man.
This was the Little Deuce Coupe, for crying out loud.
God dang it.
Yeah. So it deserved to be on the cover of Wheaties, for sure.
It did deserve it. It did deserve it. It earned the honor.
It should have been everywhere.
Yeah.
So, swing and a miss, but a swing for the fences in the next ballpark. That's really tremendous.
I left it all on the field, man. It all on the field.
Nothing hanging out on the floor there. So I encourage people to look that up because it's kind of a fun story. So I don't even know how this happened, but I was listening to some music and Little Deuce Coupe came out, and there was a whole style of photography that was popular back in those days of, bands where all 3 or all 4 guys are wearing the same getup, they're standing by a car, like Beach Boys are all on the beach or whatever. And they all had a neat look because those photos were all like shot at high noon. It was all very bright and rich in color. And so I ended up looking up the Beach Boys' Little Deuce Coupe song and the record, and I went, what car is this? This thing's serious. And learned through a few clicks that was actually a Hot Rod cover car, and it was the same photograph. Really? And I don't know if it was Eric Rickman or Bob DeLevo, one of the photographers at Hot Rod, shot that, and then I guess they licensed the picture to the record label and they just cropped out the background, and it's but it's obviously the same car. So I think Chili Cataldo was in the picture, and they cut him off at the midsection, and it's the car. Yeah, and that's the record cover. So
nice.
Yeah, pretty cool, but
that
interesting.
Is really cool
History.
Yeah. It's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody cares, but I thought it was fun.
I think they would have liked it better if it did end up on a box of Wheaties, but that's that's just my opinion.
Yeah, or a box of Captain Crunch or something. I don't know.
Some Fruity Pebbles, maybe.
Count Dracula.
Yeah, exactly, Dracula.
Oh man, that was great. All right, my friend. Well, listen, this was fun, and again, for our listeners, sneak preview of our next episode, which is going to be the 2020 Bonneville Experience, which was really something else. A lot of cool stuff. So we invite you to come back and tune in for that.
And where can they tune in, Kevin?
They can tune in basically anywhere they like to get their podcasts. So iTunes, Apple Podcasts. I did learn that the Google Play thing is going away for podcasts.
Is it?
Yeah, but you can very easily just type in Viet Radio into Google, and you'll find a whole list of places where you can get the show.
Nice.
And subscribe to all of them, everywhere you can. And then you might get an email saying, hey, the new episode's out.
And if you do listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, do us a favor and leave us a 5-star review or a 5-star rating and a review. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, they could leave whatever star rating they want, but it'd be great if it was a good one.
We're going for 5 stars, Gavin.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, selling that 5-star.
That's right.
We're pretty good. I think we've got all 5 stars except one 4-star.
One guy. Yeah, and that was because of me.
Well, but it was because you were.
That was because of me.
It was because you had a great outburst of energy and laughter. I mean, how could you take stars away for that? Oh my gosh. Just got a little loud, but that's okay. Woke him up. He was, driving to work or something.
It made me a better editor.
There you go. Mm-hmm. See? And you get a gold star for that, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. That's that missing star.
That's it. It's been reclaimed. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, listen, we appreciate it. Always a pleasure to hang out. Thanks for listening. I'm Kevin Oeste for Mr. Mike Huball Clarke, reminding you to keep it just under 500 for our next episode of V8 Radio.